He is my role model, MS Dhoni. And I really wish one day he watches this video. Me praising him. If you look at the story of MS Dhoni, nothing went along the plan. His entire life is dotted by taking half chances. Look at this one over here. When he started stumping off these batsmen, 8 out of 10 times the guy was in the crease. The batsman was in the crease. But what he did in this entire process of taking off the bails is developed almost a muscle memory. He took so many half chances that over a period of time, his reaction time became 0.1 seconds. The best in the field. Taking half chances. What happens to all of us, and more so with the higher education levels that we achieve, is we start waiting for the right opportunity in the right frame to becoming all the way to us. But what I'm suggesting is that creative people always look at the crack in the door and they sniff through it. They never wait for the opportunities to be coming to them decorated. They create opportunities. And there are fewer examples in my mind from this country than this gentleman over here, where he created opportunities all along his way. So take half chances. You will fail. And if you fail, what you need to understand is the importance of experiments. Now, this is one of my most favorite experiments from the space of neurology. What you see on the screen is a man with a missing limb. We call this as a phantom limb. Now, this is a very funny thing that happens. Suppose a man's limb or a person's limb gets amputated. The interesting thing is that this person whose limb is missing because of an accident or a disease or a war, when the limb is cut, often people feel a sense of itchiness in the limb. Now, how do you itch a limb that doesn't exist? Now, there is a very interesting professor, famous professor in the US by the name V.S. Ramachandran, who studies this phenomena. He calls this as phantom limbs. Phantom limbs means that limbs that do not exist but troubles you. Now, how do you scratch a limb that does not exist? Now, for long, the solution that these elegant neurologists had was to do a mental surgery. Now, brain being such a complex organ, there are more chances of you creating more problems than solving one if you ever venture in. So he came with this very simple, elegant experiment that works, called the mirror in the box. What happens in this experiment is that a person who has an amputated limb goes to the box with a mirror, stretches the actual limb on one side of the mirror, and he sees the reflection of the actual limb stretching the phantom limb on the other side, and this reflection fools him to think that perhaps his limb has got resurrected. And believe me, this experiment has shown to cure his problem almost permanently. Now compare the cost of this experiment with the neurosurgery. Are the costs comparable? Not at all. And that's what I mean by doing cheap, easy, dirty experiments. Life has to be full of experiments, and only then you will realize what your calling in life is, and most importantly, taking it easy. We in our country have this very fundamental problem that we confuse between seriousness and sincerity. Isn't it? We assume that for a person to be sincere, he or she has to be serious. And that's why my role model, the Joker, comes to play here. What happens is that because life is so random, as a speaker before me narrated, life is so random, there is absolutely no reason to either draw a lot of pride from your success or a lot of guilt from your failure. When you move along the way, keep doing experiments, have latent inhibitions, take half chances, have multiple affiliations, is when you start realizing and start enjoying the randomness that life has to offer.